and welcome to the TraxionGG podcast, where we talk about racing games, sim racing, and racing esports. I'm Tom, and you may have noticed we're in a new setting and also joined by another Tom.
Hello. Yes, so I used to host a podcast called Sim Sundays. We were previously affiliated with Gridfinder, and every week I used to do interviews with industry leaders within sim racing to try and understand how the sim racing industry works. But now we're merging the two. The TraxionGG podcast will have episodes of Sim Sundays within it, and also we'll be getting together once a month and we'll be doing a roundup of all the news that you and the team are publishing on the TraxionGG website.
Yes, so the Traxion podcast is going to be the place for the Sim Sundays interviews. So excellent interviews with game developers, personalities, drivers, the works.
And we're starting strong.
And we're starting strong, yeah, exactly. Yeah, excellent segue there, Tom. Professional. It's Jarno Opmeer, so the venerated, lionized, two-time F1 sim racing world champion. And what a guest to start with.
Lionized.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic word.
All right, there'll be more of those in the future. But for now, Jarno Opmeer.
Jarno, hello. Welcome to our first new Sim Sundays episode of the TraxionGG podcast. Welcome. You're our first person back. And you've got some news. How are you finding your new team at Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing?
Yeah, it's been a great first week. Actually, not even been a week. Last week, Wednesday, I was announced. But yeah, it's been great. First league race I did, we finished 1-2. And Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I went to Zandvoort with the Grand Prix. So, been a great week so far. Gonna do my first live stream with Team Redline in 3 hours as well. So I think we're gonna be playing not Call of Duty, FIFA, or not. It's not FIFA anymore these days. It's EA FC 24.
Yeah,
get the name right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it should be fun. So yeah. In my first week, I've done lots of stuff already, so it's been good. Yeah,
it feels like your first week is a lot of fun. I mean, the Zandvoort Grand Prix. I mean, we're gonna get onto that, but being involved with Team Redline, Max Verstappen, playing EAFC, it feels like the camp that you've just joined. They know how to enjoy sim racing. I mean, they take it seriously. You're coming 1-2, but perhaps not too seriously.
Well, it's just busy planning basically with loads of fun stuff as well. So yeah, obviously practicing really hard because league racing these days is incredibly competitive. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case 4 years ago. Yeah, we have to practice a lot, but we're also doing a lot of content. But it's mainly like fun stuff. Obviously, going to the Grand Prix is always fun. Because I'm just a huge F1 fan in the end of the day as well. So going to a Grand Prix is amazing, especially if you can go to the paddock, go to the pit boxes. Pit boxes are quite small in Zandvoort, so unfortunately I couldn't join the viewing gallery, I think it's called, where you sit behind the cars. But yeah, to see everything from up close is great, of course. Can ask lots of questions as well to people who are involved, which I love to do. Annoy them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good.
Sim racing and sim racing drivers, we haven't enjoyed the same exposure in kind of mainstream gaming media as other esports have in the past. There's some big name signings that will make mainstream media in other esports, but not necessarily sim racing. But this is an exception. So, I had all over the weekend across various feeds on my Google News feed from outlets I would never have expected to cover sim racing, news about your move to Red Bull. It feels significant, and perhaps, this might be controversial to say, but perhaps the first time that a driver move has been noticed by more than just kind of our sim racing bubble. So I'd love to understand a bit more about it. How does this come about? How long is this process?
There were already rumors about this on Twitter before the talks even started. So that's always interesting. So yeah, I think this has been in the works since around esports, around the last 2 events. So this was like April, May. But at the time I didn't want to have anything to do with it because I just wanted to try and win the championship. And yeah, focus on the season. because I didn't want to have my head, in another team, and just wanted to really focus on my own season, especially because it was, only a few more weeks anyway. So yeah, this has been in the works for like 2 or 3 months. So yeah, not too long actually. Actually, it's not short as well. But yeah, I knew already quite a while, of course, when I before the announcement. Obviously, when I left Mercedes at 1st of August, I already knew that I was going to join Red Bull, but had to keep my mouth shut for a little bit longer.
Obviously, these days, Red Bull Sim Racing has a partnership with Team Redline. You've already mentioned there you're going to be doing some streams with the Redline team. And obviously, Max Verstappen's heavily involved with that outfit, right? So do you think he was instrumental in this move at all?
I know I haven't asked him. But,
you should do.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I know a lot of people who work at Team Redline. Some engineers, actually, one engineer that works at Team Redline used to be my real life engineer in Formula 4. Right. I'm not sure if you guys know Ats Kerkhoff.
Yes.
Currently works as, I think, performance engineer at the Kick F1 team.
Yep.
And yeah, he's heavily involved in Team Redline as well. So my initial contact was with him, of course.
Yep.
And yeah, also an important part of me joining the team because yeah, I've known him for 8.5 years. I did my testing before F4 or Formula Renault race weekend with Atze on the simulator, learning tracks, learning driving styles, so on. So did Max, of course, back in the day when he did his first season at F1 and Formula 3, I think so. So yeah, we were all involved with each other at some point back in the day already. So yeah, I knew that that joining Team Redline was gonna work well, even though I haven't done any esports series yet. I'm sure it's gonna work well. Now we just need to try and win, of course.
So recently in WRPSGL, you've been driving the Alpine, and obviously everybody on Twitter started making some assumptions and conclusions about that. Was that a bit of fun? Was that to just kind of, just drop that little stone in the pond and just watch what happened?
I thought it was very obvious that I wasn't going to join Alpine, but then a lot of people still started to believe it. But yeah, I just had to choose another car other than Merc or the Red Bull, and the Alpine had a free spot. So yeah, I think at some point I was signed up under like a lot of different cars. I think I was going to drive in a McLaren, and in another series I was going to drive the Alpine, and then I think the league owners all kind of discussed that I was just going to drive the Alpine for some reason. I didn't care. So yeah, I thought it was very obvious I wasn't, I was just driving the Alpine before my announcement to my new team. But a lot of people thought I had joined the Alpine actually. So it was quite funny.
Yeah, we didn't believe it though.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, it depends. How honest should we be? I definitely remember mentioning this in a TraxionGG editorial meeting. You've got brought up. Oh, have you seen that Jarno's driving an Alpine? Could that be a move to Alpine? But this is the part of the
didn't
fun,
believe it.
isn't it? It's good. I mean, people care. That's the main thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was funny while it lasted. I think the Alpine F1 Esports account was heavily in on it as well, making fun of it.
I did see some tweets.
Yeah, convincing people that I was with the team or joining the team.
Didn't make much sense to me from the outside looking in as a guess. I was saying Red Bull all the way through. Anyway, nice to be proven correct on that, but that's not what this is all about. So you've already mentioned that you went to the Dutch Grand Prix at the weekend, just gone. I saw you had a little conversation with Max. What did you chat about there?
Just
top secret stuff.
Yeah, very top secret stuff.
Is that what it is? Okay.
No, it's just a load of load of nonsense, to be honest. We just I had to ask some questions for content. I'm not sure when that will go out, but yeah, just a load of random questions, things that I was curious about sim racing, gaming, just general stuff. So yeah.
So let's talk about the last F1 sim racing season. Fourth, 1 win, 3 podiums. How do you feel that season went for you?
Frustrating. I mean, the year before, I finished 4th as well, I think, or 5th. It doesn't matter if it's 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 6th, 7th, 8th, anyway. Yeah, the year before I was just too slow, and yeah, managed to get some good results and actually stay in the title fight for a really long time. And this year I felt like I had the pace, but then, yeah, loads of, I don't want to call it unlucky. I think there's no such thing as being unlucky or lucky. But yeah, especially in the last event, a load of PC issues, which basically made it impossible to fight for the title. I know Freddie had PC issues as well. He ended up winning the championship, but he was phenomenal. So I think, you know, if he had not had PC issues, he would have been really far ahead of the rest. But I think there was this one Qatar race where several times I almost completed an overtake and I got spawned back behind another car because my PC was lagging that hard. And that's, you know, it's frustrating because in the end of the day, that could have been another race win. Again, would have been really tough to I think get Freddie last year, or in the 23 Esports series. But yeah, frustrating nonetheless. At the same time, I also made a load of mistakes in qualifying. We of course had it VSC in F1 Esports, a very questionable thing to put out. Yeah, well, it was a messy season anyway. But nonetheless, I want to win all seasons, whether they're messy or not. So
yeah.
Well, disappointing.
It's interesting because hardware is something that we talk about quite a lot, and you know, sometimes people talk about hardware in sim racing and say, well, it's just like, you know, the engineering on a car. So in the real world of racing, you can have a breakdown in the same way that you can have a breakdown on your PC. I think the difference is that you're not building the PC, or your team isn't building the PC, right? So you have absolutely no say in it. Whereas in the real world, obviously, it's up to the engineers to make sure that their car is as reliable as possible. Is it part of the sport that you embrace, that kind of element of randomness, or is it just pure frustration?
It is pure frustration, because I know from, of course, the other years on LAN, there were a lot of people with issues as well. Wheel issues, pedal issues, PC issues. And yeah, it's not really in your power to... You can't really do anything about it because you're not allowed to really change components and stuff. Of course, they swap PCs around, but yeah, the question is, of course, what PC do you get? Do you just get another PC from someone that had issues as well, or not? And yeah, that's the question, of course. So yeah, it's just frustration. Of course, in real life motorsport, if you have an issue, it's your own fault, or you know, your team's fault. But yeah, here it's the organization's fault. So yeah,
it's difficult.
It's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the next question then, I suppose, is a tricky one based on what you've just been saying there. But assuming it would all work as planned, do you think the move to a LAN in-person format is a good thing for F1 sim racing?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's better to do it LAN for sure. More fun as well. I think it's nice to see all other drivers and teams.
Yeah.
Creates a bit of tension as well, perhaps, which is fun to watch. Yeah, I love it, especially if it's like together with another esports. You know, like DreamHack was was really good.
Yeah. So another event with F1
yeah,
present,
exactly. Of course, the last 2 events we had was just in the middle of nowhere with nothing around it, which was not as nice. You know, there were no spectators allowed as well.
No.
Which was a little bit disappointing. I think I would love to see it be together with other esports.
It wasn't in the Maldives or anything. Anyway, was it? It was in Sweden.
No. I would have loved to have it in the Maldives because then I could stay there straight after esports for a little vacation. But yeah, Sweden was a little bit cold for a vacation. So yeah.
So following on then from that sort of debut land-based season, which was split across 2 years with a bit of uncertainty in the middle, where do you think the championship should go next? What would you like to see from it?
It would be nice to have it once at a real F1 track as well, because I think it's an opportunity to have a lot of new viewers to F1 sim racing, F1 esports, whatever we call it. Because there are obviously hundreds of thousands of people going to Formula 1 Grand Prix, and yeah, I think it would be a great opportunity. Of course, it's live streamed to the official F1 channels as well.
It is, yeah.
So that's already great, to be honest, because it puts a lot of eyes on it. But yeah, would be great if it went to a real F1 race, and then also to other esports events like DreamHack was great. What else? What other? I'm not too familiar with esports events, to be honest.
Well, Katowice is
Gamescom.
Gamescom would have been good.
Yeah. But of course, our calendar usually is in the second half or first half of the year, second half, and then runs slightly into the first half. Although, after last year, I've got no clue when it's happening. But
no, well, we're not asking. We'll find out when we find out. But
you can ask, but I don't know as well. So easy answer that. But,
so at some point in the future, there'll be some Formula 1 sim racing. Who knows when?
Exactly.
But I agree, it'd be really cool to tie it in with some existing events, maybe even like the Sim Racing Expo in October, or some wider gaming things. And then also at the real world Formula 1 events with a crowd, that would really provide some extra energy. So here's hoping that can happen in the future.
Last year, I managed to get to the Red Bull F1 factory, and I interviewed Josh Idawu and Frederik Rasmussen and Seb Job, the previous Red Bull team. Obviously, Seb was doing ESL R1 and kind of a backup driving for Red Bull. And the thing that I took away from that interview was the hidden challenges of F1 sim racing that I don't think I'd ever quite appreciated before that interview. So Josh and Freddie especially were discussing how the repetition required for practice is quite draining, even demoralizing, that they've spent 7, 8, 9 hours a day doing lap after lap after lap, hot lapping. I think it was slightly different for Seb. He had a slightly more positive outlook, and he did say that his involvement in Rennsport and other sims, that variety kind of kept it fresh for him. But Freddie and Josh were certainly alluding to the idea of it being quite tough to keep up that grind month after month after month. Is that something that you've struggled with, or do you have your own coping mechanisms?
For me, it's tough to have it balanced together with the content creation. I think I would get rather bored doing just esports or just content creation. I'm really impressed. Some people do one as full-time job. But yeah, it's doing both is quite a lot to do. And yeah, just the time management is quite tough. So yeah, doing that is just the main issue for me. Of course, F1 Esports itself is really tough as well, because you have to test so much setups. You have to test so much scenarios, which is indeed really tough. I think, of course, you've got the same on iRacing and R Factor 2, but the issue is that the F1 game is different every year. So if you get to a certain level in R Victor 2 and you stop driving for a year, then you start where you left off. Where with the F1 game, you're going to be nowhere because you don't understand setups anymore. You don't understand what the fastest way to drive is anymore. Usually there's a very specific way of driving on F1 games that changes every year, but it has to be, aligned with the setup you make, which makes it tough. And yet to figure that out is tough.
A quick interruption to bring you some traction-related news. Now, this video is sponsored by our good friends over at GridFinder, and they're actually hosting a traction-themed livery design competition that you can enter. There are no eligibility criteria, it is totally free, you can get involved, there are some really cool prizes up for grabs as well, there's some cash, there's some traction-themed gloves like these, so it's all very cool. Myself and my Traction colleagues will also be making up the judging panel and deciding which of the liveries is our favourite. So for more information, to find out how to get involved and what it entails, make sure you head to the link in the description below, which will take you to the article on the TraxionGG website, and also head to gridfinder.com as well, because that's where you'll have to go to enter the competition. Back to the video.
It's interesting. It's almost like when new sets of regulations come into the real world of F1, and all of a sudden everyone's on a level playing field. They all know as much as each other about it, except that you have that every single year.
Yeah, true. But of course, at the same time, we do have unlimited testing days time.
Yeah.
And it is very much different, or similar, sorry, I should say, to real life regulation changes. I think we always see, I think a good example is Lewis ground effect regulations was probably a little bit more comfortable than he is now. And I think now he's starting to get on top of it and find his way a little bit more again. But I think previously, if they didn't quite have the pace, you would never see him go out in Q1 or Q2. And it's similar with F1 games year on year. You rarely see the same people, dominate, be on top. Sometimes there are new rookies that come in one season, they do phenomenal, and then the year after, expectations are high, but then suddenly they struggle because you have to adapt, so much to the new game. I think that's the strength perhaps me and Freddie have as well. We've been in the top 5 for the past 5 years, more or less. So we have gone through these changes a lot, and a little bit more used to it perhaps. But again, doesn't mean anything for the next F1 Esports season, because we have to refigure everything out ourselves as well.
So talking of Freddie, you're looking forward to racing alongside him, being teammates, rivals?
Yeah, especially practice, we've been rivals for forever. Had several F1 Esports championship fights. I think every year, pretty much, we've been quite close points-wise. I think we've always kept it really clean. I don't remember a single incident I've had with Freddie. Now it's great to practice with someone that's that level. That's great, because you always got a benchmark, or finding a benchmark in each other, I should say, and that's nice. Obviously, we both have a very different way of thinking, but we get to very similar results, drive in very different ways, and get to a very similar lap time. So, it's been great so far, and I'm sure it's going to be great in the next few months as well.
Yeah, cool. Two world champions in the same team. It's like a dream team, right? So
yeah. And I think Ferrari did have this before, Brendan and David, back in 2021, remember correctly. I think at the time David was focused more on Assetto Corsa Competizione, so he was not too much involved anymore in F1 Esports. It's going to be the first time I think we have someone that has a proper lineup with 2 drivers that are world champions. So and recent world champions. It's going to be interesting. But at the same time, it doesn't doesn't give us any results before the season starts, we still have to put everything together. So yeah.
Yeah, very true. Now everyone was always watching and there's always pressure, right? But now it's like, oh, here we are, all-star team. So
Yeah,
I'm sure people are very, very keen to see how he gets on. So just outside of competition, you are also a prolific content creator, right? So you're live streaming on Twitch with the league races. I subscribe to your YouTube channel. Is it a challenge to think of new ideas continually, especially with the Formula 1 games at the minute?
My thing is competitive racing anyway. I do my team series on my YouTube channel.
Yep.
They don't get viewed as much. I also don't enjoy making them as much, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I
just... Yeah, true. I think some people do enjoy watching it. And sometimes I do enjoy doing it. But this year, the AI are great to race against, but they are really slow. And I think the issue the F1 games have had over the past few years is their only way of making them fast is giving them, 200 horsepower extra or making them 200 kilos lighter. So then they're still really slow in the corners, but they're rocket ships on the straight. But yeah.
I feel like this might be quite a niche problem that mainly only people like Jarno Opmeer, F1 Simulator champion, has.
They're too slow for you.
I've never had that problem, I have to admit.
Yeah. But yeah, to be fair, the AI is great to race against on F1 24. We give a F1 game currently enough stick, but it is nice to race the AI, in my opinion, whereas previous years it was a bit of a joke sometimes how they raced. Yeah.
Well, that leads on, actually. We were going to ask, what are your thoughts on the F1 game at the minute, and what would you like to see from them next?
I think it's not a surprise that I'm going to say it's not great. They added some new modes into the game the past few years, which just haven't really added anything, in my opinion. I would love to see, just like other top games or top racing simulators as well, to have actually a good ranked system. I think that would give people a reason to play the game, because it's cool to measure yourself against others and race against top level drivers. But at the moment, at least the last time I played ranked, you play 2 races and then you have to wait a week before you get ranked up. Like,
yes, that's it.
Like, do you want me to play the game mode, or do you not want me to play the game mode?
Yeah, and I think if you stop playing for a bit as well, you might lose your ranking a bit as well.
No, I think after a month it gets reset again. So
that's
then you have to start over again, and then it takes 4 weeks to get to the highest, and then you start on 0 again. So
yeah, it's not like Gran Turismo iRacing where you're constantly going up and you can do it any time, right?
Yeah, that's annoying. But there's just so much opportunity and things we can do in the F1 game that are not there, which would not be possible to do in real life. Like, I think everyone would love to be capable of driving an F1 car on the Nordschleife road, for example. I know we can do that on Assetto Corsa, but it would be great to do that, on time trial, for example, or do a 24-hour race on the F1 game on the Nordschleife, for example, because that kind of stuff is possible on the F1 game and wouldn't be possible in real life. With driver swaps, refueling, I can keep on banging about great game mode ideas that will be possible, but instead we got some weird challengers career mode that, my opinion, no one really gives a shit about. So, yeah.
So more cool stuff in terms of real world tracks, better ranking that's more like some other sims, and less of the F1 World Challenge Career stuff. Winner.
Yeah. And of course, handling, I think, has gotten a lot of critique. I got used to it now, because at the moment I'm only playing F1, and for the F1 Esports drivers it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, the handling, because we get used to it in a day anyway. But
they've also made some changes as well, right?
Yeah, they did make some changes. I'm not sure if that has made a huge difference. I just didn't play the game a lot for the first 2 months, and then started playing and just got used to it. So yeah. But to be fair, this is a bit of a crazy idea, but I would love to have something. I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but back on the day on PlayStation, you had this open world. What was it called? PlayStation Live, I think so.
Oh, Home.
PlayStation Home, yeah, that was
Yeah.
a great thing, and I think you can make something like that on the F1 game as well.
It felt like they were edging towards that, and then now they've reversed away from it.
Yeah. But I think that would take crazy effort to put in. But yeah, having an open world, like walking around, I don't know, Silverstone paddock or something, or
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
that would be cool.
That would be great. But
A bit like what they have in like Steam VR. So I have an Oculus Quest, and when you put it on, you're in your lounge, and you can deck your lounge out, and you sit on the sofa and choose the game you're going to play. Yeah, I think that was kind of the idea, right?
Yeah, perhaps. I remember back on F1 2012, you had something like you could walk around the paddock a little bit. If I remember correctly.
Ooh.
I
don't remember that.
But it wasn't open world. It wasn't open world, of course.
No, okay,
so,
right.
Yeah, and setup-wise, we don't have a lot of options as well. It's a bit frustrating sometimes because sometimes I feel like the handling is purely bad because we can't change certain things in the setup as well.
Lots of good feedback there. We'll see what happens with next year's game. And also, there's the new... It doesn't really affect you, but this year's game is still yet to receive the new Formula 2 car, and I've been intrigued to see how that drives. Just before we move on to some real-world questions about your motorsport activities, I just wanted to know how much time at the moment then is spent practicing versus content creation. And assuming that changes throughout the year based on when you get calendars and things like this.
Yeah, at the moment it's 99% of my content creation at the moment is from live streaming.
Yes, okay. And then taking the best bits.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I think I spend 90% of my time practicing and 10% of my time live streaming because, otherwise I'll drive like a potato in all the league races.
Yeah, you need to be cooking. But so if you're hardcore practicing now, or I use the word hardcore loosely, but you're practicing intensely, even though perhaps you don't know when the season might be or what the format's going to be, and that's fascinating because I suppose you can never switch off because if you do, your competitors will be practicing even more, right?
Yeah, exactly. At the same time, there has to be balance, of course. I think last year was tough for a lot of people because the season was basically never ending. We had, I think, twice, of course, where we prepared for an F1 Esports event and it didn't happen. Or well, the first one we did drive one race, but then midway into December, I think so. At that point, I'd been 3 months straight in Brackley practicing for no races, and then one night before we were supposed to leave, it got cancelled. So we had practiced 3 months straight for no race at that point. And then we didn't know we were gonna have an F1 Esports series until March again. But a lot of people just kind of kept practicing because we had no idea what was gonna happen. So it was a never-ending season. I remember we started practicing on the beta in April, and the season ended in May the year after.
That's painful.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hope it's not the case this time.
It will be nice to have a calendar a little bit beforehand so I can plan my life a little bit. But that's not the case at the moment. So
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of sim racers venturing into real world racing, and it feels like it's becoming almost like a metric of success for some sim racers, right? Do they get a real world drive? So we've got Jardier in the Clios. Obviously, Jimmy's doing all the stuff at the Nordschleife. Swellio's been driving in an LMP3, which looks absolutely sick. F1's a bit different because obviously the style that you're racing is an F1 car, and obviously getting into F1 is basically impossible unless you started in the womb. So you've started doing some karting, some shifter karting this year. Is that part of something bigger, some other vision, or is that just for fun to keep you sharp, or just purely for enjoyment?
Yeah, just fun. I did karting on really high level back in 2015, and was really good back then. Now I didn't drive for 7 years, jumped back into it. And to be fair, in the rain, I still got it. I think I'm still one of the very best in the rain, but in the dry, I tend to struggle a lot. Didn't help that I bruised my rib twice, and I've only been able to drive one race without a bruised rib. Because it's really tough to drive with a bruised rib. You're just constantly in a lot of pain. It's a little bit like running a marathon with a broken leg. It's not been easy. Now I'm gonna drive tomorrow, I think so, for a few laps again. I didn't drive for 2 months now because I had to take rest. Let my rib heal again. So it's not been easy. Pace-wise, it's been okay-ish, not great. I've been consistently like 3/10 of the pace. Although I've had a couple of races where I was overweight as well. So yeah, it's not been easy for sure. I'm quite tall, so it's not easy to be on weight. I think for shifted karting you need to weigh like 72 kilos to be on weight.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, I'm 186 or 6'2", I think it is in English terms.
Yep.
So yeah, comfortably I'm on like 82, 83 kilos, but I need to push it down to like 75 when I'm racing. And then yeah, of course your center of gravity location is much higher if you're tall, so that's a disadvantage again as well. So yeah, it's not been easy, but yeah, I just got to keep practicing and hope I don't bruise my rib again, because if I bruise my rib again, then I'm definitely stopping. Then I've had enough, because I'm not gonna wait again for 2 months before I can start practicing again.
I'd love to see the memes if you started wearing a rib protector in the sim.
Yeah. I even at some point had a special rib protector made so I could drive with my ribs in pieces. Yeah, I did do like little track day with SimLab back in last year, back in November, I think so. And the Mercedes SLK together with my teammate at the time, Bono Huis. And yeah, it was great. They were on semi-slicks. Owner of SimLab invited us, so that was phenomenal. I had a lot of fun. He didn't have as much fun because I have done a lot of racing in the wet and Spa, and he was a little bit off the pace. Even though I think me and Bono only ended up doing like 10 laps. Yeah, I straight away was on the pace. I knew all the wet lines, of course. And yeah, Mercedes is okay compared to an F4 car or Formula Renault car handles really easily. So yeah, he had some things to learn from me afterwards. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was cool to see that I actually really had good pace in like a normal car as well, you know, because I'm not used to racing normal cars on tracks. My whole life I've done either karting or Formula cars, which is not really a normal car, you know. So yeah, it was loads of fun.
Well, just on the physical side of racing, obviously there's, you know, with karting there's a weight restriction, and obviously it's quite physical, especially for longer races. Sim racing, I remember again at the Red Bull factory, all the guys were keen to get to the gym as soon as we'd finished the interview. They're all running off to use the gym. How big a part of your sim racing to date has physical exercise been, and is it something that Team Redline has started talking to you about already in terms of fitness regimes?
I do have the opportunity to, you know, work with a fitness trainer, and you know, I've always kind of come to the gym, done a lot of running, although lately I've not really been hitting the gym anymore. I'm doing a lot of running lately, to try and kind of get on weight for karting, and not to mention to get my cardio up, because I've done years of just weightlifting, and now I need kind of decent cardio again. I must say running was a lot easier 7 years ago when I was like 25 kg lighter. Yeah, it's to be fair, it's not been going too bad. I've done quite a few half marathons now. I'm quite okay at 5 kilometer runs. now, but yeah, it's still not as easy as when I was weighing 63 kilos rather than 83.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I weigh 95 kilos and I'm training for a half marathon at the moment, and it is the devil. I hate it. I'm never doing it again. I'm getting this one run done, and then that is it. Never, 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 never. It just hurts. It's boring. Not for me. So yeah, huge respect for picking that up again.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to quickly ask, actually, why choose karting again to return to motorsport?
Karting was kind of because the owner of MP Motorsports set up this competition called the Karting Champions League.
Oh.
And he asked me, if you promote this series, then you can come and drive in it, but also in the Dutch Championship karting. So yeah, that's why basically. That's kind of how I got back into it. Still, I'm a little bit careful around the times of F1 Esports with karting. Of course, I don't want to, get injured. Every race I've done so far, I think someone has had to go to the hospital. So
oh my goodness.
it is very dangerous, of course, because those shifter cards, on some tracks reach up to I think there's a track in France where they go up to 210 kph.
Oh, right.
And you're not, you're just sitting in a go-kart. You can, if you crash, you will fly out. Simple as that. So,
take care.
Yeah, I have to be careful to not get injured.
Yeah, I saw you posted on social, actually, like a little cartoon graphic of like me after shift cart in a few days, and it's like someone in bandages had crutches.
Yeah.
So it mustn't impact the F1 sim racing season. And just before we end, we've only got a few more questions. Just to go back to F1 sim racing, do you have any specific goals for the season ahead? Obviously, world champion.
Get pole every qualifying.
Yes.
Win every race, basically.
Bam, done.
Yeah, that's it.
How about with Team Redline more broadly? It strikes me that Team Redline is erring on being a gaming brand more than specifically just a sim racing brand as some of the other teams are, in the sense that they seem to, they do the streams where they're playing FIFA or Call of Duty or whatever. They're appealing to a wider audience by doing other games. Do you see the move to Team Redline as an opportunity to up your content creation game and your reach into other markets of gaming?
I do play other games, of course, like F1 Manager and stuff. I've got a separate YouTube channel for that. So, yes, but at the same time, like, I'm already quite at my limit with time usage throughout the day with content creation, F1 Esports. So it's really tough to, do more than that than I'm already doing. I think the sole reason why no other F1 Esports driver is doing content is because they're already, behind the screen all day. And yeah, I think when they're done with F1, they play another game, but yeah, that's not what they're known for, So yeah, I think for a lot of F1 Esports drivers, it's time limit. Luckily, I can afford to pay an editor now, but back in the day, when I won my second F1 Esports title, I was very often spending ridiculous amount of time at the factory in Brackley. Sometimes 14, 15 hours a day for weeks in a row. That was when I was growing my channel, of course. Now I'm very lucky I don't have to edit my videos anymore, apart from my league race videos. But back then, when I was doing my team series and other videos, I had no one to edit that for me, and it was very, very long days. So,
and I love that you after a long day of F1, you would unwind with a bit of F1 Manager, just to like really spice things up a bit.
To be fair, I don't think it's really unwinding. I think at some point it's a little bit more of an addiction.
Okay.
So like sometimes I don't play the game for 2 months, and then I just play 3 seasons in a week. So
the shakes.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think the big question is that everybody's been waiting for the last half an hour for us to wait is, are you going to be able to pull your weight at FIFA, at EAFC? And which position are you going to play?
I don't know what position I'm going to play. I think there's a little intro every player has to do when they do their first pro clubs stream with Team Redline, which is you have to sing a song.
Oh.
So that's gonna be interesting. I'm terrible at singing. I hate it. I hate dancing, singing, anything like. I've not practiced, but I know what song I'm gonna do. But that's a secret. So yeah, what position I'm gonna play? I don't know. Probably goalkeeper. I just run onto the field or something. I don't know. I think some of these guys play a lot of FIFA, so I expect them to be good at it. Although I keep saying FIFA, but it's EAFC. EFC is the kind of game that you can play a lot, and I think you can still be really bad at it. So I don't know how good they're going to be.
Can confirm that is the case.
Yeah. I think Anders Vergen is with Red Bull as well, right? Maybe I need to do a little 1v1 against him. He needs to give me some tips so that I can, beat the rest of the Team Redline squad.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching it. Okay, so we always do a quick fire round at the end of I say always, this is obviously the first one, but we have recorded another episode before this, which will go out afterwards. And we did it then, we're doing it now, we'll do it forever. So it's a quick fire round, 5 quick questions. We need your instant, quick response. You're not allowed to think about it too much. Happy with the rules?
Yep.
Okay. Best motorsport moment of all time?
Me winning my first F1 Esports title.
Love it.
Mario Kart or iRacing?
Mario Kart.
Why do you love sim racing?
Why not?
Why does sim racing suck?
Takes a lot of practice.
Who should we invite to the next Sim Sundays podcast?
Max Verstappen.
Okay, well, if you can make that happen, that would be that'd be great. You heard it here first. Our next guest will be Max Verstappen, courtesy of Jarno Opmeer. Thank you very much, Jarno.
Thank you.
Well, Jarno Opmeer, what a great place to start the new era of the Traction podcast.
Yeah, exciting. A sim racing esports driver that seems to have made the news, and obviously TraxionGG is the news, but I mean mainstream news, mainstream gaming news. I think there was even something, a BBC article about Jarno Opmeer and Max Verstappen and Team Redline. It's hopefully maybe the first of many if we want sim racing esports to grow.
Yeah, exactly that. He has such a loyal following through content creation and interesting YouTube videos and streams. He transcends sim racing and esports, right? He has a following as a personality, and that's key for the success of the genre that we love. And also, speaking of a driver who has big following, the next episode will be with none other than Romain Grosjean, which is going to be very exciting.
Yes, that was a really, really fun episode to record. I mean, it's Romain Grosjean, right? So, biggest guest that I've ever spoken to, but very, very, very nice, very chilled, and we really nerded out about sim racing. So, it's going to be a good one to listen to.
Yeah, he definitely really cares about virtual racing.
He does.
Fantastic to see. So, if you'd like to help support the show and listen and watch more great guests, please do like and subscribe on YouTube, leave us a little comment below, and also on Spotify and Apple, leave us a nice 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, because that would really help us out, and subscribe on there too. You can also interact with the show.
Yep, join the TraxionGG Discord. You can find it at TraxionGG/Discord, or just click on the little Discord icon at the top of TraxionGG website, where we'll be posting pre-announcements of who our guests are going to be and give you guys an opportunity to ask your questions. And Romain got a lot of questions, so we put that into the Discord last week. Obviously, follow us on social media as well, where we also pre-announce the guests, and you can just comment on the tweets and Facebook posts and whatnot with your questions for our guests.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your support, and if you want to get involved, that helps the show going forward. That's it for this one. But this is the new TraxionGG podcast. Welcome to the paddock.